The biggest party of the summer is here, and we are here to break it all down for you. Squared Circle Radio is on the air. Welcome to the show. We appreciate it so much. I am your host, Mr. Podcasting Chris Belcher. No, this is not the young buck, Andy York, sitting beside me. We might refer to him as the old buck, I guess. My dad, making his first appearance on Squared Circle Radio, Billy Belcher, is here, and we're going to talk all things SummerSlam. It's a big show. It's a loaded card. I'm excited to talk about it.
Well, we'll dive into it.
Let's do it. Let's dive in. Let's not waste any more time. Before we get to the card, make sure that you are following along with us on social media at SQCircle_radio is where you can get us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Great viewership last week. We are well on our way to 200 subscribers. And again, as we say every week, might not sound like a whole lot to everybody, but it sure means a whole lot to us. So we appreciate it very much. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the thumbs up on the video. That helps us greatly as well. All right, let's dive into it. SummerSlam is this coming Saturday, and want to let everybody know right off the rip before we get started, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel because we will be going live after SummerSlam. We haven't done this since WrestleMania. So we're going live after SummerSlam. Immediate reaction. The young buck Andy York will be back. We hope to have a slew of special guests joining us. It sounds like it's going to be a house full. The biggest party of the summer is actually going to be at my house, not at SummerSlam. But lots of people, lots of fun people going to join us. So tune in for that. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. All right. Before I quit saying, or keep saying fun, we'll get to that in a second. I don't want to call it the main event just yet. Cody Rhodes, Solo Sikoa, the undisputed WWE Championship. Dad, I'm going to throw to you first since you're the new guy on the show. What have you thought? I mean, lots have been made, lots of issues, I guess, online has been made about the way Cody's been booked since he's been champion. And it's been disappointing. Or the way the bloodline has been booked since Roman has been gone. What's been your take so far on this story and just the way this match has been built?
Well, they brought the new bloodline in with Solo and all the other guys, I think, a little too quick. Mm-hmm. They've sort of put Roman completely on the back burner. They won't talk about him at all. And then they did away with Paul Heyman. Mm-hmm. So they just dismantled the real bloodline.
Well, I think I'm really glad that because we saw Cody chase Roman and the bloodline for so long, trying to get the title. And now that he has the title, I'm just glad that they've sort of kept them apart. They let Cody do his own thing, the bloodline doing their own thing. And I think what a lot of people are having a hard time with is that this bloodline is not the same as Roman's bloodline.
No.
I think once you accept that fact, this is totally different, then you can take it for what it is. So I feel like a lot of people are negative towards it just because Roman's not in it.
Well, it's like a new faction.
Right.
I mean, it's Roman's cousins, but it's like a new faction. It's not even like Jimmy and Jay and Roman and the Uce, Sami Zayn.
Right.
It's not that bloodline.
Right.
So it's just a faction out there. And until Roman decides to, or whenever they decide for him to come back, then we'll have a true bloodline back.
Well, let's talk about that because obviously the word on the street is this Saturday night, Roman Reigns is coming back. We've seen a couple of training videos recently. And again, I don't know if those were actually filmed in real time or if, what have you. But word on the street is it just seems like with Solo calling out Roman for the last couple of weeks that Roman is seemingly on his way back. I'm still not fully convinced that he'll be back at SummerSlam. I'm not sure. I think the place on the card where this match takes place is going to have a whole lot to do with that. But we'll get to that in a minute too. Let's look at a fantasy booking scenario for each guy. So let's say that Solo Sikoa does win this match. Let's say Cody's title reign comes to an end.
respectfully disagree with you because I think Cody has worked hard to get where he's at. Now that he has the title, he should have it for a whole lot longer than Solo is really, if you really count it back, he's not a rookie, but he's real young in the business.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they should let Solo take the title away from Cody this soon. Cody deserves better.
He does. And Solo is not the heel that Roman was. So I get the experience factor and all that. But the best business that wrestling does is when a babyface chases a heel champion, not the other way around. Now, I'm not saying that it has to be that way because WWE is making money hand over fist right now. Cody Rhodes is the guy. He's, selling all the merch and doing all the things. But if Roman does come back, does it make it more compelling that he chases his cousin for the championship rather than Cody?
In this scenario, I don't think so. I think that we all know how good Roman is, how many days he had the title.
Mm-hmm.
We all know how good Cody is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the fans out there wouldn't, they would be quite upset if he took the title away from Cody. Now, when the time comes to take away from Cody, I think it ought to be Roman.
Okay. All right.
And not
Solo.
Solo.
Okay.
Because he, just like you said, he doesn't have the experience as Roman, and Roman knows how to draw it out of anybody he opposes.
Yeah. So, okay, so let's look at the other side then. If Cody wins and Roman does come back, is Roman coming after Cody, the guy who took the title from him, or is he coming back for his cousin who has claimed his spot as the tribal chief and taken out Paul Heyman and taken out Jimmy Uso? Who's he coming after?
I think Roman will come back after his cousin for doing what he's doing. He'll take care of that part of the business first, and he'll have out of the way, and Jimmy and Jay will come back by then. And who knows, maybe Sammy may join back up with him, and then he will chase Cody with Paul Heyman. Because a lot of people do it. Whether you like Paul Heyman or you don't like Paul Heyman, he is a vital part of the bloodline.
Oh, he proved that. I think he proved that more when Roman left versus when Roman was there, because those couple of weeks where Solo was flipping the bloodline over and doing whatever he wanted, Heyman was conflicted because he was trying to keep the bloodline together for Roman, but then realized there was nothing he could do. So I think he was more vital without Roman than with him. But that being said, I'm not taking anything away from what he did with Roman. Mm-hmm. I just think you saw his importance once Roman left. All right, I painted this scenario for Jared last week. I'm going to paint it for you as well. Let's say Cody Rhodes does win. And let's say that Roman and Solo do their thing, which it seems like they're going to do. Something we didn't mention was how The Rock factors into all this, because he could very easily come back on Saturday as well. We don't know. But this scenario is what I want to present, is what you do with Cody while Roman is chasing Solo. I think you turn Kevin Owens and Randy Orton heel, and that's who Cody feuds with.
Well, besides Roman and Cody, probably, and Seth, yes, count Seth in there, the biggest name in the WWE is Randy Orton.
Mm-hmm.
And teaming up with KO, they make a great team. But they could chase him while Roman's taking care of his bloodline. Like I said before, Solo's got a faction.
Yep.
And Roman takes care of that, gets the bloodline back in line, but it's always the final boss.
Yep.
I didn't trust him when he was with Roman, and I don't trust him now.
Yep.
Because I think the rocket is out for himself, and he wants to be the tribal chief.
He does. You're right. Yeah, there's definitely, we talked a whole lot about that on the road to WrestleMania, it's like, is Rock leading this thing? Is Roman leading this thing? Are they really on the same page? So it'll be interesting to see how all that fleshes out. Like, will it be Roman and Solo before WrestleMania and then we get to Roman Rock? Or is it Roman Solo all the way to WrestleMania and it's Rock Cody? Or is it Rock Roman and it's Cody Randy at WrestleMania? There's tons of different places you can go.
Different scenarios for everybody.
Yep.
But the main thing is you will have the crowd. The WWE crowd will be enhanced. They will enjoy doing this, rooting for Cody.
Yep.
Some people will be rooting for Roman.
Yep.
Some people still like The Rock.
Yep.
Some people like Randy. Everybody likes KO.
Yep.
So there's a million ways everything can go, and I think Triple H is doing a great job. He'll get it where he wants it to be.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's in good hands. Whatever story we're trying to tell, it's in good hands, and we'll get it figured out. So that's the scenarios as to where they could possibly go. But your prediction for the match: Solo versus Cody. Who walks out as champion?
Cody.
Does Roman show up?
I'll say yes.
Okay.
I think it's been long enough. They've had enough time because Solo's bought in all his cousins.
Yep.
They've done a lot of business to everybody, especially to KO and Randy.
Uh-huh.
They've done enough. They've been there in long enough time that it's time for Roman to come back and straighten things out.
I'm with you. I think it's Cody Rhodes. I think he walks out as champion. I think there's something that happens. I don't know if it's the bloodline jumps Cody after the match. I don't know if it's Cody's already out of the ring or something. All that to say, I think Roman comes back, and I don't think there's an interaction with Cody. I think it's more towards Solo. That way they can separate that. That way they can revisit Roman Cody later on, and it doesn't feel conflicted right then.
Well, I think maybe in the last part of the match, whatever it is, and this is just my opinion, I think the respect that Roman has for Cody and his dad, because Dusty trained Roman, Roman will come back, clear the ring of Solo, and just stand face to face with Cody. Cody will turn around and walk away. And they'll leave it as that.
Yeah, I don't know how long they're going to be able to keep them apart, though. That's the problem. Because I don't think you want to go to WrestleMania and have that main event 3 WrestleManias in a row. I don't necessarily think that. It's going to be interesting. Like we said, lots of different ways they could go. Here's another match that there's lots of different ways they can go. Damian Priest puts the World Heavyweight Championship on the line against Gunther. Now, listen, lots of people have been just as they're speculating about Cody's reign. They've been equally as speculative of Damian Priest's reign. A guy that a lot of people didn't think was world champion material, was questioning the fact that he won Money in the Bank when he did, and I'm included. I'll take the blame on that as well. I did not think when Gunther won the King of the Ring tournament and set himself up for a world title match at SummerSlam, I didn't think there was any way they could get the crowd to turn on Gunther and cheer Damian Priest. But they did. And I feel like it was in like a week's time, the crowd was flipped, and it was wild.
I was watching after when Damian won the title, and, they do the after show, they do the interviews. And I don't know if you've seen this or not, but Triple H come out there and was talking. He said, Damian completely deserves this. Mm-hmm. People don't know how hard he works to get where he's at.
Yep.
He's not the most gracious wrestler in the world.
Yep.
Not the most fluid wrestler in the world. But Gunther isn't either.
Yep.
And the question will be for me is, do you want Damian or do you want Gunther?
Yeah. Well, let's look at it. You've got Damian Priest, who's clearly the underdog here. Gunther had the Intercontinental Championship for over 600 days, longest reign in history, lost it at WrestleMania to Sami Zayn, and now he's seemingly been chasing this other championship. Lots of people believe that that championship was just tailor-made for him. I think there's a good chance that he finishes the story, so to speak, here at SummerSlam, and he wins the championship, because our next pay-per-view is Bash in Berlin in Germany. He'll be a huge hero when he walks into Europe as the champion. I could easily see them playing that scenario out.
I'll say this. I'm conflicted as like 50-50 on this.
Yep.
Either Damian keeps it and keeps on building himself, or Gunther wins and has the scenario you're talking about when he goes to Berlin, because you still have Drew.
Yep.
You still have CM Punk.
Yep.
And you still have Seth.
Yep.
They're all chasing the world championship.
Yep.
I will say this. If Gunther wins, it won't be a long reign.
Really? You think? Oh, okay.
It won't be a long reign like the Intercontinental.
Okay.
You got too many people chasing after it.
That's true. That's true. I don't know. See, I think let's paint it this way. I think if Gunther wins the match, we head to Bash in Berlin. He walks in as the hometown hero, as the champion, and I think he faces Drew McIntyre at that event for the championship. I think Drew finds a way to get another shot because of a prediction that I'll give a little bit later in the show. I think that's Gunther's scenario. If Priest wins, look how many guys he's knocked off as the World Heavyweight Champion. He pinned Drew McIntyre twice. He's beaten Seth Rollins. He's beaten Jey Uso. And now he's beaten Gunther. So he has established himself as a champion. Problem is, I think Gunther gets his rematch at the Bash in Berlin show, and that's where he wins the championship.
That's probably the best scenario. I think, like you said, Damian has took on all comers.
Yep.
Come out ahead on all comers that he's had, but he's not faced Gunther. And just like I said, I'm 50-50 on it. It can go either way. But you can look for maybe some interference in that match.
Yeah, there's a possibility of some Judgment Day stuff. There's possibility, I think, of Ludwig Kaiser returning and Giovanni Vinci returning, the former Imperium guys. So you're right. Lots of gaga could happen in this match, but you're 50-50, but I'm going to make you pick who wins the match.
Damian.
I agree. I think Damian Priest retains his championship, and they save Gunther's big win for the Bash in Berlin show. I could be wrong. It wouldn't be the first time. It won't be the last either. If you guys are hanging out with us on our YouTube channel, we appreciate it so much. Just make sure you like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening to us on podcast form, number one, you ought to be watching us on YouTube so you can see our smiling faces. But if you prefer the audio version, that's great. Just make sure you're following the show on whatever platform you're listening on. We would appreciate it so much. Let's keep moving down the SummerSlam card, and let's talk about arguably the hottest storyline on Monday Night Raw. And I'm telling you, if you would have told me this was the best storyline on Raw this time last year, I'd have laughed in your face. But Liv Morgan has found a way to prove me wrong. And I'm not saying that she needs to be a provocative character for this to work, but this is the best Liv Morgan that we have seen in the WWE. This storyline has just been masterfully told.
Never been a Liv Morgan fan, but I will agree with you on that. This is a really good storyline. And it was building real good because it needed to, because Rhea was away.
Right.
So when Rhea comes back like she has, it only gets hotter than it was before.
And think about what you said earlier about how good Triple H is doing with stuff. This storyline might have happened in some way, but it was so enhanced because Rhea was legitimately injured and had to give up the title, and she's been away for 3 months. That people forget that happened 2 weeks after WrestleMania. 2 weeks, and she was gone. So Liv and Dominic and the rest of Judgment Day have really carried this storyline. And then, like you said, when Rhea came back, the roof blew off the place and we're off to the races. If we're looking ahead at this, I don't know that we're done with just one match. And I don't know exactly how to book it. I'm going to leave that in Triple H's hands. But I don't think this is the only match we're going to get. I think we're going to continue this.
I think poor old Dominic, he's in the middle of everything.
He is.
And people don't like him, but he is a really intelligent young man.
He is.
And he's building himself up, not on his dad's name, but on his name. And I think when this match takes place, he's going to be caught in the middle again. And something freaky is going to happen, and Liv's going to retain. I hate to say that because Rhea is 10 times the wrestler she is.
Right.
But, like you said, to carry on the storyline, and people want that storyline,
yep,
it will keep on going.
Yep. I don't think Rhea can win this first encounter if the story's going to continue. If she wins, in my opinion, the story's done.
Yeah. And she has to win clean.
Right.
And this won't be a clean finish.
No, absolutely not. I tend to think that Dom is going to completely just give in to Liv, and that's how this match is going to end. Maybe we get, Sam Roberts suggested this on his podcast this week, maybe we get a mixed tag team match with Rhea teaming up with Jey Uso versus Dom and Liv. We've seen Jey Uso kind of sprinkled into this storyline. That could happen. I could also see if Priest loses to Gunther, you could make Priest that tag team partner. You have Rhea and Priest break away from Judgment Day as the baby faces. You have Liv enter Judgment Day officially, and they keep the rest of the group intact. So again, lots of different ways they could go. But again, in order for this to remain as hot as it is and for Liv's character to continue, I think she has to win this match.
I think she'll win the match, like I say, but it won't be a clean finish.
Right.
But I have an opinion on, I do not think this version of Judgment Day keeps on going. I think Finn Balor and
J.D. McDonough.
Yeah, J.D. McDonough break away from Judgment Day because they're always criticizing Dom.
Yep.
Rhea always comes to Dom's help.
Yep.
And she controls him like a puppet. And Damian just goes where the gold is.
Sure.
And Finn is jealous of Damian.
Yeah, we have to get that match in some capacity, which is another reason that I don't think Gunther takes the title from Priest, because I think we need Balor and Priest for the title, because if you look at the way that they have the friction that's been building, it's been built around the Money in the Bank briefcase and Priest winning the title, because it's what Balor could never get. Even since they were tag team champions, that friction's been there.
Yeah, because in some of the matches when Damian was in there, when he was in a match, Balor would come out and sort of but not helping.
Yep.
He made it look like that. And, just behind his back, I think he's looking to stab, not literally, but he's looking to stab Damian in the back and to get the title for himself. That's what he wants.
If he stabs him, we'll just call him Arn Anderson and, was it Sid Vicious?
Sid, yeah.
Yep. Arn
with a
Sid.
pair of scissors.
Yep, that's it. All right, so I think the consensus here is that Liv Morgan wins and this story continues. There's some screwy finish. It's certainly not clean. Might even be just a straight-up disqualification. Who knows? And we'll see where Dom goes after that. Let's look at the other women's match that's on the SummerSlam card for the WWE Women's Championship over on the SmackDown brand. Bayley defends against the Queen, Nia Jax. And Dad, I don't know about you, but the story has been fine. I would be more invested if when Nia Jax won the Queen of the Ring tournament, if she would have fully embraced the Queen character and just totally shifted her character and become Queen Nia Jax with a crown and a robe and the whole 9 yards. But the most interesting part of this whole story, and Jared and I both said it last week, it's Tiffany Stratton in that Money in the Bank briefcase and wondering, when is she going to cash in? Is it going to be on her friend Nia? Is she going to take the moment away from Bayley and take it, do it right in front of Nia? Nia gets jealous. The wedge gets, driven further in between them. So I think that's the most interesting part of the story.
Well, first of all, I think Nia is a bully.
Okay.
I don't think she's interested in being the queen.
Right.
And I'm really don't know if she's interested in the title, even though, has she held the title more than once, or has she even held the title once?
She held it once because she beat Alexa Bliss at WrestleMania 34 for the title.
Yeah, she's held the title once.
And I think did she have it around the Rousey time? No, I don't think so. I think she might have only held it one time.
But I think more than likely, and I think this Tiffany Stratton, is that who it is?
Yep.
I think she's playing both sides of the fence here.
Of course she is. Yep.
And all she's worried about is getting that title. And I think she'll do whatever she needs to do to take it. And Bayley's going to be the one that suffers the most, because she will lose her title.
Yep.
Nia's going to bully her around, but Tiffany's going to come in and take the title.
See, I feel like that at least in this specific scenario, I feel like that Tiffany will find a way to accidentally, and I use air quotes if you're not watching on YouTube, accidentally cost Nia the match. Bayley somehow gets the win. That way the tension between Nia and Tiffany continues to build, and maybe Tiffany saves that briefcase for another opportune time, which I'm about to bring up. But that would be my pick, is that I think Bayley wins. Maybe it's screwy, maybe it's not. But Bayley, much like Priest and much like Cody, deserves a long title reign. This is one of the best runs of her career. She's just not had a whole lot to work with, honestly, like on the SmackDown brand from the women's perspective.
Now, when she first come up, and she was with the four horsewomen.
Yep.
She won the title way back then when she first come up.
Couple of times. Yep.
But she never did carry it for a long time. It seems like the women's title then, they only have one title then, was just going back and forth from different people. And like you say, this is one of Bayley's best runs. So this could be another build by Triple H.
Yep.
For Bayley and Tiffany Stratton to go on to the next pay-per-view.
Well, let me tell you, I don't think it's a Bayley Tiffany Stratton thing, because if I have the pencil, if I'm booking this, it doesn't matter if Bayley wins. It doesn't matter if Nia wins. Whoever is victorious, the Queen Charlotte Flair returns at SummerSlam to confront either one of them. Doesn't matter. Charlotte is the next challenger for the championship. Charlotte wins. Tiffany cashes in on the Queen. And Tiffany becomes the champion.
That makes her name bigger if she does that.
Yes, it does.
And we all know how good Charlotte is.
Well, let's not go that far.
I'm okay. All right. I mean, I think she's the best women's wrestler ever. That's just my opinion.
I know.
My son doesn't agree with me.
I know.
Nobody else agrees with me.
Okay.
But that's okay. But if Tiffany cashes in on Bayley, it's not as big as cashing it in on Charlotte.
Exactly.
It's just that simple.
Plus, we got to get Charlotte to that 16 title reigns, and she's at like 14 now, I think. So she needs another quick reign and lose and, all that kind of stuff. That's the way that I see this one going. Much like you and with Priest and Gunther, I can't decide on this next match for the Intercontinental Championship. Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker. I hate that I'm so disinterested in this feud. But I have not been interested in anything Sami Zayn has done with the Intercontinental title since he won it. And I don't know what it is. I don't know that I have anything against Sami Zayn. I'm not interested. That being said, I really think they missed the mark with the first match they did at the last pay-per-view, and they should have put the title on Braun Breaker at that point. If they don't do it now at SummerSlam, I really don't know what's going to happen.
I agree with you. They've had several opportunities to put the title on him. I don't know if this is Sammy's run has been because of what he did with the Bloodline, and he was deserving with this to have the title and beating Gunther when nobody else could.
Yep.
And you wouldn't think Sammy would. But Sammy is pretty sneaky good.
Yep. He's that underdog that they always say, like, just when you think Sammy can't do it, Sammy always does it. Okay.
But Braun, he demands it. He wants it. I think it's probably time to put the title on him and see how far he can go with it.
Much like Solo, Braun doesn't have the experience. Braun is still very green. He debuted on the first episode, I think it was first episode of NXT 2.0, whenever that launched. And I think that was in 2021. Yep, that's right. 2021. So he's not been in business very long. Obviously, he has the pedigree. For those of you who don't know, he is the son of Rick Steiner, the nephew of Scott Steiner, the famous Steiner brothers. So he has the pedigree. They weren't always the most graceful wrestlers. They weren't always the most polished wrestlers.
They just wanted to beat you up.
Exactly. And that's what Braun does, but Braun does it in a really interesting way. He's super quick. He's definitely has a skill set. I don't know if it's a long-term reign if he wins, but I don't know. I'm really conflicted on this one. Well,
I'm like you. He's much quicker than his dad or his uncle.
Yep.
He has a good skill set in the ring. He has a lot of good moves, but I agree with you about the experience part. And Sammy has a ton of experience.
Yep. Yeah, he does.
And people like him.
Yep.
When they go to Canada. Who they want? Sami Zayn.
They want Sammy. Yep.
They don't want Braun. They want Sami Zayn.
Right.
And he is a big draw for them. And
which is probably why he won the match at Money in the Bank. It was in Toronto, so I get that. I just think they missed the mark on that. And Andy talks about it all the time on the show how Braun only took one finisher, and that was all it took. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know.
The Braun is supposed to be tougher than that,
right?
With the persona he has,
right?
Is he 0-2 against Sammy? Or was it a draw and then Sammy won the last one?
No, in singles matches he's 0-1, and I think there was probably something there. That's like I think they wrestled in a triple threat at one point, and Sammy pinned the other guy. I don't remember exactly. But nonetheless, it'll be an interesting match. Sammy will get some good stuff out of him, as he did at Money in the Bank. So I'll be interested to see how they book that one going forward. Another one I'll be interested in. 2 more matches here on the SummerSlam card, and then we'll go back through our predictions. Appreciate you guys joining us. Make sure you're subscribed on whatever platform that you are on. Logan Paul and LA Knight for the U.S. Championship. You know, I said this last week. I had this hot take last week, and Jared agreed with me. I want to see if you agree with me. Has LA Knight's time passed?
This is the least interesting match of the night for me.
Really? Okay.
Because I'm not an LA Knight fan.
Okay.
Never been a Logan Paul fan. And LA Knight he sort of burst on the scene quickly, but he hasn't went anywhere since he's done that.
Right, exactly.
He first come out, he was pretty hot. People liked him. and people still like him. But it seems like he's on a downhill incline. And as much as I don't like Logan Paul, he draws money for the WWE.
He does.
He is a big draw, and I think that he will. I think this might be LA Knight's. Won't be his swan song, but he's not going to. I don't think he's going to get another shot. Now, he might get another shot at the Intercontinental or the
U.S. title.
U.S. title.
Yep.
But he's not going to get a shot at the world champion.
If he doesn't win this one, we're in trouble with him. I don't get it if he doesn't win this one. The interesting dynamic for this match, again, I brought this up last week when we were talking about SummerSlam. SummerSlam is in Cleveland Browns Stadium. Cleveland is the hometown of Logan Paul against one of the most popular wrestlers on the roster. So it'll be interesting to see how they book this. Logan Paul has been one of, if not the best celebrity turned wrestlers that we have ever seen in the wrestling business. And a lot of people were upset when he won the U.S. title, but he's been there consistently every single week, and he's taken that U.S. title on his podcast and all these other appearances that he's done. So he's done some really good things. He's been really, really impressive. All that being said, it's LA Knight's time, or you continue to ride this momentum with Logan Paul as your champion.
Yeah, and until someone comes along that could prove they could stay in the ring with Logan Paul and take him down. Because he, like you said, he is a big draw, a celebrity turned wrestler. He's done really good.
Yep.
And I mean, and if you just watched him and you didn't know who he was to start with, you would say, that guy's pretty good.
Yeah.
Better than LA Knight. Not even close to Cody Rhodes, but better than LA Knight. So I think they'll ride with Logan Paul.
You going Logan Paul in this match?
Yep.
Well, I've gone with a couple of titles retaining here. I think I'm going to go with a title switch on this one. I'm going to take LA Knight.
There's one thing I need to say. Through all this we've been talking about, there's a wild card out there nobody has even mentioned.
Uh-oh.
And when you and Jared was doing a podcast last week, he was talking about, well, who could do this, or who could do that, or who could do that? And nobody even mentioned his name. But he's coming back for his retirement year. John Cena is a wild card.
He is.
In every match.
Well, listen, I completely agree with that. And I said it a couple of weeks ago. It was on the post show of Money in the Bank when Andy and I were talking about John Cena's retirement, when he came out and announced that, he's, did his retirement tour. The one match that I want to see is Logan Paul versus John Cena. I think that match that might be the best match of his retirement tour. Now, listen, we all want to see Cody, and we all want to see Randy, and we want to see CM Punk. But in ring-wise, that could be the best match. And it makes it even better if Logan Paul still has that U.S. title.
That's the one I want to see. John Cena and Logan Paul.
Yep.
Because did not John Cena come back and wrestle the Vince McMahon's
Austin Theory?
Yeah, he come back and wrestled him. This is kind of a situation.
Yep.
Except this guy's better than Austin Theory.
Right. It'll be interesting to see.
And John Cena said, we got some things planned for you.
Yep.
You'll never know. We'll talk about them.
It'll be interesting. Yes, John Cena is a huge wild card. I'm glad you brought that up. That's great. All right. One more match to get to, and it can be argued that it is the hottest storyline in a long time in WWE. The personal animosity between the three people you see on your screen runs so deep, it's absolutely insane. You could argue that this could be the main event of SummerSlam. You could argue this could be the main event of any show out there. Of course, I'm talking about CM Punk getting cleared to get back in the ring after his torn triceps against Drew McIntyre with Seth Rollins as your special guest referee. It's real. It's personal. It is A+ storytelling from Triple H.
This is really personal because Drew McIntyre can't be satisfied in anything he does. He always has to complain about something. He always has, somebody took this from me. Somebody took that from me. And we all know about CM Punk. He is a great, great in-ring performer. He's a great talker. Had a great run in WWE. And this is what he come back for.
Yeah.
He's not going nowhere else.
Nope.
And then you got Seth. And Seth will do anything, take that title.
Yep.
And this is going to be one, as JR would say, slobber knocker.
Yes, it is. Yep.
Because it's not going to end pretty. And I don't know who's going to win this match.
Did you see Drew McIntyre's tweet that got deleted?
No.
So I think it was last Thursday. It was a Thursday or Friday. Drew McIntyre tweets out a picture of himself with Jack Perry. And the caption on the tweet said, "The picture is real. Cry us a river." Insinuating CM Punk's feud with Jack Perry and as to why he quit AEW with the whole real glass and all of those kind of things. And then it got deleted. So I'll say this. We're recording during Monday Night Raw. We haven't got a chance to listen to the opening promo that these three guys cut. But that talks about how personal this is. Drew took a picture with an AEW superstar and posted it. Now, whether he was asked by the company legitimately to take it down or it was a story that he put it up and then deleted it and that's part of the actual story, I don't know. But that just shows you how deep this story actually is.
I really think, and most performers, most WWE performers, and most wrestlers, they all get along pretty good in the back, as everybody says. But I don't think Drew McIntyre gets along with anyone. And CM Punk walks by his own rules.
Yep.
Always has and always will. And Seth has put himself as one of the elites in the WWE. He can do whatever he wants, and Triple H is going to let him do it.
Well, it's because he's the best in-ring performer of this generation.
Well,
in my opinion.
That's your opinion.
The interesting thing about this, what makes this so compelling, is just like with Rhea Ripley being injured and not on TV, all three of these guys were injured. CM Punk tore his tricep. Seth Rollins had the MCL that he had to, I don't know if he had surgery or just rehab. I think he had surgery. He's been out since WrestleMania. Drew McIntyre busted his eardrum at WrestleMania, if I'm not mistaken. Or he had another injury. Maybe the eardrum was before WrestleMania. Either way, all three of these guys were hurt. Yet they have found a way to make this the top storyline on Monday Night Raw. So I don't know exactly how it ends. We're going to pick it. But I think there's a lot of ways they can go with this. As I mentioned earlier, maybe Drew gets a world title shot. Maybe he loses and he gets even more psychotic. Seth Rollins, where he fits into this, I don't know. If you're picking the finish of this one, what are you picking?
CM Punk.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is I think these three guys legitimately don't like each other.
It's pretty wild.
And they really don't like each other. And someone's going to do something that is going to be kind of off the cuff. And we all know CM Punk is capable of that. Mm-hmm. And like you said, Drew's psychotic. You never know where his mind goes to. He thinks he wins, and then he gets took away from him by Damian Priest. And Seth might be caught up in it some way.
Here's the way I'd book it. I think in order for this, much like the Liv and Rhea Ripley storyline, I think in order for this one to really continue, I think Drew finally has to get something. So I think Drew wins this match. But Jared mentioned it last week. SummerSlam 1997 is infamous for Bret the Hitman Hart spitting in the special referee's face, who was Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels grabbed a steel chair and he was going to hit Bret with it. Bret ducked and he bashed The Undertaker over the head. Bret gets the cover. Shawn has to count 3 and Bret wins the world title. I think that's how this one ends. That Punk and Seth get into a spat. Drew and Seth get into a spat. Seth swings a chair and he hits Punk by mistake. Drew gets the win. Punk is now after Seth. And this leads to a triple threat Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood in 2 months. That's what I would do.
That sounds like a good book. It really does.
All right. Before we go back and recap our picks, Dad, there's some notable absences from this card that I just want to get your take on. Notably, there's 7 matches. Normal WWE pay-per-views that we've seen recently have only had 5 matches. This has 7, so a couple of more opportunities to get on the card. But neither tag team champion is on this card. 6 of the 7 matches are all title matches. Only one without a title is Punk and Drew. No tag team titles. Which is interesting because Triple H was well known for booking tag team wrestling really well, especially in NXT. So no tag team titles. The SmackDown tag titles are getting defended on the SmackDown before in Cleveland. It's going to be DIY against the Bloodline. Not happy about how that one's going to end, but that's another story. AJ Styles, not on the card. Arguably the most popular wrestler on the roster right now, Jey Uso, not on the card, which I think is a huge letdown. The Wyatt Six, not on the card. Rey Mysterio, not on the card. Sheamus, not on the card. Lots of notable absences for the second biggest show of the year.
Well, I can see the Wyatt Six and not being on there because they're sort of just now starting into their new world, new fantasy that they're going to bring to the WWE. I don't understand the Jey Uso.
Right.
And I think that they're going to let the Bloodline win the tag titles before they even go there.
Yep.
So and Sheamus not being there. And Sheamus is one of the truest soldiers they have at WWE.
It's true. Yep.
He does whatever they ask, but there's so much time they got, so many matches they got, so many feuds they got going. And there's not really a feud going on in any of the tag teams.
That's true.
It's sort of bland right now.
That's true.
But when the Bloodline gets it, if they get it, the tag team titles, and I'm pretty sure they're probably going to. They didn't bring the Wild Man in there for nothing. I think that then it will heat up.
See, I would think like Johnny Gargano is also from Cleveland, and he and Ciampa are the tag team champions. So why not put that match on the card, have the Bloodline beat them at SummerSlam, and establish this version of the Bloodline even more? That's what I would do. But again, I don't have the book. Triple H does.
That way, when they go to Hell in a Cell, the Bloodline would defend the titles in a cage.
That's true. That would be interesting.
That would be more appealing.
That's interesting. Yep. Yes, that's true.
They would be more, it'd be more of a Hell in a Cell match with them in there instead of Johnny Gargano, his partner.
All right. Lots of speculation. I listened to Busted Open Radio this morning. Shout out to Bully and Dave LaGreca for a fantastic show this morning. Listened to it on the way to work. But the hot topic this morning on Busted Open and around the internet was what is going to main event this show. Lots of possibilities, lots of ways you could go with this. But if you had to pick what match would go on last, who's the main event of this show? Because you have the argument of the most compelling story versus a championship. What goes on last?
Well, you have to put Cody and Solo on last.
Yes, you do.
First of all, Cody took the title off Roman, who had it over 1,600 days.
Yes.
Biggest title in WWE. And now, one of the biggest feuds starting in the WWE with the Bloodline and Cody. And if you are going to bring Roman back, you don't bring him back at the first of the show.
No.
You want to bring him back at the end of the show.
Yep.
And have that last pop, have that last, oh, what just happened?
Yep.
When the show goes off the air.
Yep. The only other way to do that, let's say that Cody and Solo does not close the show, because I agree with you. They absolutely should close the show. But if they don't, number one, like you said, Roman's not coming back. If they don't close the show, Roman's not coming back. The only other match that could close the show is Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan. And I think the only way that closes the show is if Rhea wins. And we both established that she's not going to win, or at least that's what we think. So I wouldn't put that one on last either. I think it's Cody Solo. I think that's the only way to go. You have to put the value of the most prestigious championship in your company, the face of the company. You have to put it on last. To me, regardless if Roman comes back or not, Cody Solo needs to go on last because Cody is the face of your company.
They're riding his back.
Yep.
Cody is the face of the company, and he took down arguably the best the WWE has had, at least in 1,600 days.
Yep.
In the last couple of years, they built Roman up so much, and then Cody took him down, and that's what they wanted to do, to have that way. But you have to put Cody and Solo on last.
Yep. I agree. All right. Again, if you're on our YouTube channel, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We appreciate that so much. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Go check out our other playlist of our other videos where we've previewed pay-per-views. We've talked old school. We've talked new school. We've done trivia, all the things in between. Make sure that you go check all of those things out. We would appreciate it so much. All right, before we close up the SummerSlam conversation, rapid fire picks. Let's go back through them real quick. Cody versus Solo. Who you got?
Cody.
All right, I'm with you. Cody retains. Damian Priest and Gunther, World Heavyweight Championship.
Damian Priest.
I agree. 2 for 2. All right, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Women's World Championship.
Liv Morgan.
Liv Morgan retains. That is 3 retains right there. Bayley versus Nia Jax, WWE Women's Championship.
Bayley.
I agree there as well. Bayley retains. That's 4 retains. I bet this one's going to change. Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship.
Sami Zayn.
Whoo! Our first difference. I'm going Braun Breaker. I think he finally gets it done. Logan Paul, LA Knight, U.S. Championship.
Logan Paul.
Oh, no. We can't go Logan Paul. We got to go LA Knight. Yeah. All right. CM Punk and Drew McIntyre.
CM Punk.
I'm going Drew McIntyre. All right. Fun stuff, man. All right. As I kicked off the show by saying Dad's not the young buck, Dad is the old buck. And when the old buck, or when Jared comes on, we have to talk old school stuff. So it's time to talk a little old school this week in wrestling history. Kicking it old school. But for this first one, Dad, we don't have to go back very far. Because on July 30th, in 2022, just 2 years ago, what you're looking at on your YouTube screen happened. SummerSlam. Nashville, Tennessee. I was there. Jared was there. Andy was there. A whole slew of us were there to watch Brock Lesnar drive a tractor to the ring and lift the ring up. It was one of the wildest things I have ever seen in my entire life. Have you, in all of your years watching wrestling, did you ever think you would see something like that?
No. But given to who was wrestling each other,
That's true.
yes, it could happen. And Brock's right at home on a tractor. He owns a farm, and he's just a good old bad guy, and he will do anything. And he really does stick to what he says.
Yeah.
And Roman is just as game as anybody else. So
He flipped.
but it was really surprising. It really was.
He flipped over the ring with Roman standing in it, rolled him out of the ring. We were there. It was wild. We were actually sitting behind where the tractor was. So we didn't get to see Roman roll out, but we, saw the tractor and the whole deal. A fantastic show that night, though. Bayley comes back from her injury. Bianca and Becky Lynch tore the house down. Edge came back that night. Jeff Jarrett was a special guest referee for the Usos and the Street Profits. Just a really fun night there in Nashville. Can't wait for Nashville to build that new stadium in 2 years and get the show of shows, WrestleMania, in 2027. All right, one more this week in history that I have to bring up, especially because you're on the show, and then we'll get to our last topic. It's from July 28th, 1997. You may remember this and you may not. But it's something that we were in the building for, and I'm trying to get it to come up. There it is on the YouTube channel. WCW Monday Nitro from Charleston, West Virginia in 1997. We were in the building for this. Some stuff that happened on that card. You had Ric Flair and Kurt Hennig team up against Buff Bagwell and Scott Norton. Randy Savage wrestled Scott Steiner in the main event. DDP wrestled Six. The Giant wrestled the Great Muta. Alex Wright and Chris Jericho. Lex Luger was named the #1 contender, and he would beat Hulk Hogan for the title the very next week. We were at this show. It was one of the only shows in 97 where Sting didn't show up, which I remember being very bummed about. Yeah. But 97 was a hot time in WCW, and we were right there in the middle of it.
NWO.
That was it. A lot of fun.
Made probably one of the most dramatic things that made wrestling even better than it was before.
Yep. Which we're going to talk about in just a second. But how many wrestling events did you tote Bryce and I around to? Of all the miles that we traveled and all the places that we went to see wrestling, it was a wild time.
I would venture to say 25, maybe.
At least.
At least 25.
I would say it was 25 Smoky Mountain Wrestling shows, and then you add the WCW and WWF shows on top of that.
Yeah. We've seen a lot of Smoky Mountain. We've seen The Undertaker when he was first with Smoky Mountain.
Yep. Yeah, we saw The Undertaker in Pikeville. We saw The Earthquake in Pikeville. We
Lex
saw
Luger.
Lex Luger. We saw The Rock and Roll Express, Bunkhouse Buck, Marty Jannetty.
Got pictures of that.
King Mabel. Yeah, so much. Yeah.
And we've seen the guy you talked about earlier on the Busted Open podcast.
We did.
Bully Ray.
We saw Bully Ray.
And Brother Devon.
We did. We saw them. We saw New Jack.
Yep.
We saw Axe from Demolition. They all came through Smoky Mountain, which was a great time because were you ever privy to the fact that Smoky Mountain was working with the WWF? Like Cornette was, like they were sort of feeding talent and all that?
You never did think about it then because it's like the one in Louisville now.
Yeah, OVW.
OVW. You didn't realize back then that's where John Cena, Randy Orton, Dave Batista come from.
Sure.
You didn't think about that. You always thought, well, it's either WWF, WWE, WCW, or maybe Smoky Mountain, very little. But you didn't think about that. And one in Memphis.
USWA.
Yeah, USWA. Yep. And then one with Jerry Lawler had.
Right. Yeah,
but you never did think about them working together.
Right.
You just thought when they got to the top, that's where they were all the whole time.
Right. Yeah, it was just so weird because I would always think, like, I remember going to an event, and I don't remember what company it was, but the Road Dogg was there and Goldust was there, and it was at the height of the Attitude Era. It's like, what are these guys doing? And you don't realize the talent trade that happened or the favors that were done.
And you go back and look at OVW and look at younger pictures of Randy Orton and John Cena.
Yeah.
Oh, they started there?
Yep. And then John Cena, I think, it's wild. It's wild to think about all the talent trading that happened before the internet was a thing and before we all knew, what we know now. All right, one more topic that we want to hit. This popped up on WWE social media this week, and I thought it would be fun, again, as we talk old school, to talk about, and that is, of all the heel turns that have happened in the world of professional wrestling, who would be on the Mount Rushmore of those heel turns? And the Mount Rushmore, obviously, you can only pick 4. And I have a couple that just absolutely belong on this. So I'll throw one out, and you can throw one out. We'll go back and forth. The one that absolutely has to be on there, and maybe it's the greatest heel turn of all time. You mentioned it earlier that the NWO changed the business. And the reason it changed the business is because that man on your YouTube screen, Hulk Hogan, traded his red and yellow for black for the first time in his career, or his well-known career. He was a heel in the early 80s and late 70s. But for what the world knew him as, finally turning heel, ditching the vitamins and the prayers and all the deal, became Hollywood Hulk Hogan. It changed the business. It has to be on the list. If you have to pick,
it has to be the top one.
See, I think so too.
It has to be the top one because it really changed, not only in WCW, but it changed WWE. It just changed the whole business.
Yep.
How people looked at it.
Yep, it really did. All right, what's one that you would put on your? If we establish, okay, that one is a solidified spot. So we got 3 spots left. Who's a heel turn that you would want to put up there?
Well, I've got a list of 10. We don't have time to do all 10, so I'll just pick one out here. I think that one that people really don't think about, when Randy Savage turned on Hulk Hogan.
That's interesting.
Over jealousy of Miss Elizabeth.
That's a really good one. No, I would not. Yeah.
It happened in the year of
1988.
in the 80s.
Yep.
And he turned on him, and then he beat him in the WrestleMania that year.
Yep.
For the title.
Yep. Hogan won the title back.
Yep.
In 89, sort of ending that feud, and Macho was a heel after that. But that's a fantastic heel turn. Okay. So maybe that belongs on the list. Let me tell you something else that might belong on the list is the infamous barbershop incident. The Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels throwing Marty Jannetty through the window, ending the partnership of the Rockers, at least for the most part. They reunited in a one-off, but still springboarding the singles career of the greatest in-ring performer of all time.
Definitely made Shawn Michaels.
Yes.
And I kind of hate to say it, it sort of made Marty Jannetty's career ended.
Yes.
On that day.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason.
I mean, he hung around to do things,
right,
but his really career was a tag team partner with Shawn. And after that happened, he didn't have a career anymore.
Well, there's a reason when you look at tag teams and you say, okay, who's Shawn and who's Marty in the tag team? It's like there's a reason for that. So I think that is just a game-changing moment in the business. Nobody had ever seen somebody get thrown through a window like that. That was just revolutionary from not only a storyline perspective, from a visual perspective, just a fantastic moment that I think belongs on there. All right, give me another one.
This one is real old school.
Uh-oh.
Andre the Giant actually turned on Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
Before their WrestleMania match.
That's what set up their WrestleMania 3
and
match.
he aligned with Bobby Heenan.
Yep.
Which we all know was probably the greatest heel manager in the world.
And I don't think Andre had ever been a heel at that point, just because he was a giant and he was an attraction, and that's the way Vince always used him.
He was a good guy all the way throughout, up until that point. And it worked.
Yep. It did, because it put Hogan over, and you listen to people and they said it's the only time Andre ever lost. Well, it's not really true, but in any event, that's the story.
One of the few times.
One of the few times, yes. Fantastic heel turn. No, you're absolutely right. Let me give you another one. Let's go a little more modern. Let's go in 2015. The destruction of the Shield by Seth Rollins turning on Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. They had a shorter run than a lot of people realize, as dominant as they were as a unit. And as I said earlier, I think Seth Rollins is the greatest in-ring performer of this generation. Dean Ambrose would go to AEW and become Jon Moxley and really be the face of that company, in my opinion. And then Roman Reigns just had the fourth longest WWE Championship reign of all time, really flipped his career around. So the argument can be made, if this heel turn doesn't happen, none of that happens.
Exactly. It spurned the careers of all three of them. Just like a rocket. They all took off.
It did.
I mean, the Shield were good, and they had a lot of good matches, but like you said, it was short-lived, but their careers took off like a rocket.
Yep.
After this happened.
Yeah, it absolutely did. All right. We haven't filled up all four yet. Give me another one.
Eddie Guerrero turns on Rey Mysterio.
Oh, and then we get the battle. Speaking of Rey Mysterio, there's one to think about. Rey's son, Dominic,
turns on him.
So it's a vicious cycle, because you get Eddie turning on Rey, and then they battle for the custody of Dominic. And then you get Dominic 18 years later, or whatever it is, and he's now in the business, and everybody's turning on Rey. Dad, what is it about everybody turning on Rey Mysterio?
Because Rey is such a good guy.
I guess. I mean...
But again, it elevated Rey. When Eddie turned on it elevated Rey even more than what he was.
I agree.
And then when Dominic did what his did to his dad, it shot him up like a rocket in the position he's in today. But he's young. He's still got a long way to go. But he's off to a great start, and this probably spurned it on.
I agree. Lots of great heel turns. There's only 4 spots on Mount Rushmore. I don't know that we're going to sit here and solidify all 4 spots, but I'm telling you right now.
But I can give you one more real quick one.
Yep.
KO turned on Chris Jericho.
I can't believe I didn't think of that.
Festival of Friendship.
I can't believe I didn't think of that.
In 2017.
That's one of my favorite storylines of all time. I think it's the best storyline Chris Jericho ever did. I can't believe I didn't think of that. Wow. Yeah, I mean, that belongs on Mount Rushmore right there. That's just so masterfully done. And what's so funny is that Triple H, Vince McMahon, was not at Monday Night Raw the night that happened. And Vince had basically given Jericho the green light, Jericho and Owens the green light to do whatever they wanted. Mm-hmm. And they had all this lined up, and it was approved, and apparently they got to TV. And Triple H, it's been insinuated that it was Triple H. I can't say for sure that it was him, but it was insinuated that Triple H didn't like the creative, and he wanted to change it because Vince wasn't there. And Jericho calls Vince and got it fixed the way that he wanted it to, and that's what we saw on screen. So, yeah, that Kevin Owens was a made man already because he was the Universal Champion at that point.
And he already beaten John Cena.
Exactly. So he had some really good stuff already. So that moment didn't necessarily make him, But man, it was such a fitting way to just shift that whole story that the fans just absolutely hated. I love that.
Then the last one I'll mention real quick. When Stone Cold turned heel and shook hands with Vince McMahon and turned on The Rock.
Yeah. It's a heel turn you didn't see coming. I agree. Yeah, it's one of those because so many people so many different opinions on it. Stone Cold even says he wouldn't have done it if he would have thought about it. But I think it's monumental for the fact that nobody saw it coming. So I think it deserves, again, I don't think we can come up with the exact 4 because, again, wrestling is about opinion. You think Ric Flair is the greatest wrestler of all time. I'm going to tell you that Shawn Michaels is, and you can't convince me otherwise.
I need to correct you on that.
Okay, sorry.
The American Dream
is a better in-ring performer than Ric Flair? I thought I'd never hear you say that. Is the sky falling?
Dusty Rhodes is number 1.
Shawn Michaels. Okay.
Well, Dusty, Rick, and Shawn. And Taker. I'll give you my 4.
Shawn's above all of them. All right. We're going to agree to disagree. I tell you what, we will both agree on them. And I know we'll agree on this as we get ready to wrap up this show. Sports Wire Radio is your one-stop shop for everything you need wrestling and sports related. Tom Bryce is an incredible human being. I said it last week. I don't know why he loves our show so much, but he does, and we appreciate it so much. He plays our stuff all the time, but he plays stuff from everybody. Anything that you need in the sports world, Tom Bryce has got you covered on Sports Wire Radio. Make sure that you are listening live. SportsWireRadio.org. That's sports with a Z. Make sure that you are checking them out. Follow Tom on Twitter. He is at ThomasBryce2017. He'll keep you updated on the schedule and what's happening and the live shows and everything. So support those guys. They support us. They are our exclusive partner. We can't thank them enough for what they do for us. So we just ask our listeners, just give back to them as well. I know they would appreciate it very much.
He's a good old guy from New York. He loves wrestling.
He's a good old guy.
And sports.
He does. He's great at what he does. So yeah. we appreciate Tom. We appreciate everything that Tom does. We appreciate all you for checking out this episode, whether you're watching us on our YouTube channel, whether you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, wherever it is, doesn't matter. Just make sure you like the episode. Make sure you download the show or follow the show on whatever platform it is. Subscribe on the YouTube channel. Leave us a comment. Lots of people leaving us some comments recently. We appreciate that very much. We read all those and we try to respond as best we can. Leave us a comment. We would appreciate it. And then, of course, you can follow us on social media at SQCircle_radio is the show. Dad is at Billy Belcher 11. I am at Chris Belcher 24. Make sure you give us a follow. Interact with us. We would love that. We love fan interaction. And again, don't forget, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure that you do because we are going live right after SummerSlam this Saturday. Andy York will be back and we'll bring a host of fun guests. We'll have some great discussion. We will give our immediate reaction to SummerSlam. So as soon as the show goes off the air, probably about 15 minutes after, look for us to go live on our YouTube channel. We'll take your comments. We'll take your questions live and we'll just have a good time. It'll be a fun discussion. Speaking of fun discussions, this was a good one. You said you wouldn't be prepared or you didn't feel like you'd be prepared.
Andy and Jared, you just got moved down on the list.
Oh, man, what a fun show. Whole lot of fun. Thank you guys for joining us again. If this is your first time, make us your one-stop shop for wrestling. We would appreciate that so very much. Just subscribe. That's the best thing that you can do for us. That helps us out a ton. We would appreciate it very much. Again, I don't know what it does with the YouTube algorithm, the likes and the comments. It helps. Just throw it in there. We would appreciate it very much. All right. For my dad, Billy Belcher, making his first appearance on Squared Circle Radio. For Andy York, who couldn't be with us. Jared Justice was with us last week. We'll try to get those guys back for SummerSlam as well. But you know what? If they're not here, I'm going to be here. I'm your phenomenal host, Mr. Podcasting Chris Belcher. This has been another edition of Squared Circle Radio. We'll catch you guys down the road.